Hello and welcome to Open Door. This is Vince Robinson, and I am having a conversation with Terrence Spivey. Terrence is the founding artistic director of Powerful Long Ladder. They have produced a short film called Resurrection of the Last Black Man, and from what I understand, it is in a few different film festivals, and now you are ready to announce that it is in an additional film festival in addition to the others that it is involved in. But before we get to that, I just want to point out that I'm really pleased to have this conversation with Terrence. He and I have connected on a couple of other occasions. He was a guest on the television version of Open Door, and he's also been a guest on the radio version last year, I believe, at some time. And so it's always a pleasure to talk to you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Renaissance Man.
Well, I appreciate.
I admire what you do too, man. I see you travel good of the globe, and you come back and you share everything. That's what it's all about, you know. That's what it's all about.
Yes.
Very inspiring.
Yes. Well, you know, it's always been a part of my life. My father was in the Air Force, the Air Force when I was a child, so traveling was nothing new, and I've been blessed in my adult life to be able to continue that. So,
very fantastic.
Being a photographer, you know, you take photos and you can't just sit on them. You want folks to see them. So, you know, that's how it goes. So, we're in this new place. They have basically shut the theaters down. And I guess as a result of that, or maybe not, you've decided to get into doing films. And you've done this short film called The Resurrection of the Last Black Man. Tell us about the film and tell us where it's going.
Yes, you're right on point at the beginning. It was the reason because all the theaters shut down. And, you know, my theater company, we normally collaborate with other theaters like Borderlight International Theater Festival and the Playwrights Local, and you know, and so everybody, I was ignited. I had been wanting to do a story, a full-length documentary on this victim, innocent David Gregory, who was horrifically murdered in my hometown, Kuntze, Texas, in 1933. So let me just go back. My son and I had gone to a reunion there in Kuntze in 2018, and I got more and more information about this man from a couple of friends of my late father who used to go to school with him there in Kuntze. And I had known about this mysterious killing, but I never knew the guy's name because I stayed with my great-grandmother back when I was 6 years old up until 11 before I ended up going to Houston. And I used to hear people coming to the juke joint that my great-grandmother owned and talk about this man being dragged and hung and burned in Kuntze. So fast forward, I started talking. You know, I was in a hotel. A lot of people came from out of town for the reunion. And I was in a hotel lobby talking to two of my late father's friends who went to school with him there. And they told me, "Oh, you're talking about David Gregory." I said, "That's his name?" They said, "Yes, he was the last black man is recorded in the state of Texas. The last black man hung and burned in Texas, right there in Kuntze." I was like, whoa. That also really jarred me a bit and said, I definitely got to do something now. Fast forward 2 years later, I was in between researching for up into, you know, even up to the point of George Floyd, you know, horrifically murdered in front of millions of people, online, on television. It hit me. And what really got me was when he was screaming for his mama. And I had already done some research and read an actual article by this gentleman named E.R. Bills, who specializes, he's a well-known Texas novelist. He's known for writing all the different stories and mysteries of Texas. He even has a calculation of the number of people who have been hung in Texas. And of course, his specialty was also special articles on David Gregory. So I read this article, and it said when they brought this man when they tried to burn him after they hung him, took his genitals out, took out his heart, nailed it to a tree. They tried to decide now we're going to burn him after they hung him. So the fire went out. Wind was blowing, the fire went out. They said, okay, we're going to start the fire up again. In the meantime, we're going to drag him through the Negro town. They dragged him through town of Kuntze, saying, nigger for breakfast, yelling out. That was in the article. Then they decided before they bring him back to burn him, they took him, brought him up to his mother, dragged his body, mangled body up to his mother's house. She came out and said, you done right, white folks. That was her line. And I said, whoa. Even though I knew there was a twist to that, she didn't mean it, of course. And I thought about George Floyd screaming out for his mother. I saw that connection of father, mother, son, particularly son and mother bonding. And I'm like, okay, my birthday was June 10th. But by the time it got to my birthday, I said, oh, I got to do something. I am so angry. I am so frustrated. I cannot express my rage on stage. I can't. Well, by this time, it wasn't on stage. It was through, I call it the Brady Bunch presentations, the Zoom. I said, I cannot express myself through a stage reading or Zoom reading like everybody else. I got to do something else. And I did a pivot turn into my other love, film. And I called a friend of mine, Jennifer Hearn, who's a photographer, well-respected photographer, always Short Culture Center, who I met during the time when I was an artistic associate there in 2018. And I said, Jennifer, we got to do something. I got to do something now. I want to do this full length on this guy, David Gregory, but I got to do something now just to get this out of my system. And that's how I came about the film. I said, it's going to be called Resurrection of the Last Black Man. The opposite of what happened to George Floyd. I had to get something out of my system, and I had to do it film-wise. Of course, we ended up not doing moving picture because Jennifer said, Terrence, I'm not good at editing film. Because originally I was going to get this brother who helped me out, who edited the music video I directed for Bob Ivory. It was a piece called My Brother I directed. He called me in before the pandemic, and I directed the music video. It was my first time directing a music video, and it was a lot of fun. And I was going to get him, and then I spoke to her, and she said, hey, I would love to work on it too. But she said, Terrence, let's go the other direction. She said, well, you remember the classic film, the short classic called the French film La Jetée? I said, yeah. Let's go that direction using still shots. Just still shots. I said, let's go for it. So we took a chance. So what we did, though, Vince, we decided to get a lot of historical images from past and present and weave them in between the narration of Michael May, who narrates throughout the piece, 8 minutes and 46-second piece. Of course, we know what that means. And we weave those, and we also took pictures, black and white photos of Michael May also reenacting, representing David Gregory, close to the end of the short film. And we also got Sharon Fox, an actress I worked with, who was also my assistant for Powerful Long Ladder. We had her to be the image of David Gregory's mother, Janine Gaskin, who I worked with many of times. I directed her in many shows. She was the voice of David Gregory's mother. And we have a young man, happened to be Sharon Fox's nephew, great-nephew, Carter Miller. He was 5 years old. He's 6 years old now. We had him to be young David Gregory. Now, mind you, I didn't have him in mind at first. It was just going to be Michael May as David Gregory, and, the way it comes out, it's a reincarnation. I said, you know what? I want to add some innocence to this. Let me add some innocence to show the human side of this man. And I'm going to also put a young actor to represent him when he was a little kid. And throughout the video, once people see it, the film, you're going to see constantly the little boy. You don't really know. It's a mystery at the very beginning. You see him constantly between the slides or the images popping up. You see this image of this little boy constantly running up to his mother. It's the same still shot, running to his mother, arms wide open, waiting for him. Of course, you find out down the line, it's the image of David Gregory as a little boy and his mother, And of course, we're using the classic music, "The Upper Room" by Mahalia Jackson during that moment. So that's what got me going, to do this. It's been a personal thing for me, very personal. It didn't matter at the time in my mind. It wasn't to take it to a festival. It was just a personal journey I needed to take, a personal catharsis to get this out of my system. And it's not just about George Floyd. It's even from the feelings I was having was even at the beginning, even from Emmett Till to Rodney King, then Trayvon Martin, and then Tamir Rice, and Breonna Taylor, all these other people who are like unjustly murdered, killed. And then George Floyd was the one that really hit the nail in the coffin for me. I said, I got to do something now. I can't get on stage. Everything's locked down. I can't find myself any actors between these boxes on Zoom. Nothing against that, but I just wasn't feeling it at the moment. We got to do this film. We thought it was gonna take at least 3 days, 4 days. It's a little small, short film. It's 8 minutes, 46 seconds. Man, as we were working on it, editing, and we couldn't talk with each other in person, so we were going. We were using Zoom to communicate, to do post production. We were talking about phone and through text on the editing. And I tell you, man, it is really difficult. I didn't think it was going to be so hard. I wrote the script based on the articles I was reading. And I said that, I said, you know what? Instead of just having someone to narrate, because Michael May, one of the sold-out actors, he's a film actor too. I call him the Ving Rhames of Cleveland. He's done many of plays. I said, I'm not going to just have him narrate. I'm going to have him as David Gregory speaking on what happened to him. I'm going to use that device. He's going to narrate what happened to him. And of course, that idea came to me because of the classic film Sunset Boulevard, with William Holden and Gloria Swanson,
Okay.
And
So you're describing a paradigm shift that I think we need to dig a little bit deeper into. We're up against our first break, so when we come back, we're going to talk a bit more about this process that you've had to resort to because you've been kicked out of the theaters, so to speak. And we'll talk about the terrorism that was exemplified in your film and other incidents that have taken place in our consciousness within the past year. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is Terrence Spivey. He is the artistic director of Powerful Long Ladder, and the new film is Resurrection of the Last Black Man. We'll be right back on 95.9 FM WOVU, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station. What can you do in the battle against COVID-19? Your first task, wear a mask, protect yourself and others. Armor up, armor up. Give those hands a 20-second shower with soap and water. Armor up, armor up. Give others space 6 feet just in case. Armor up, armor up. Get good nutrition, ingest for digestion. Armor up, armor up. Vitamin C, D3, and more. Armor up, armor up. Elderberry, zinc, and echinacea from the store. Armor up, armor up. Get some fresh air. Go climb some stairs. Armor up, armor up. Let go of stress. Make sure you rest. Armor up, armor up. Your breath is the key to life. Strengthen your immune system, follow the guidelines, and win the battle against COVID-19. Armor up, armor up.
This program is brought to you by Empower Clee, bridging the digital divide, providing reliable internet access to the greater Cleveland community.
Hey girl, what you doing?
Just trying to figure out what's going to happen with these kids in school.
What do you mean?
I don't got no internet at home for them or for work. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Girl, go to Empower Clee.
And what is that?
Empower Clee. They're right here in Cleveland. They offer high-speed internet.
Girl, are you serious? Because I need it right now.
Yes, and it gets better. My cousin just called them. She doesn't even have to pay a dime.
How can I reach them?
You can visit their website at www.empowercle.org or give them a call at 216-777-3859.
What's the number again?
216-777-3859.
Thanks, I'm going to call them right now.
Remember, call 216-777-3859. That's 216-777-3859. And ask about free internet service for your high school student. On behalf of WOVU 95.9 FM, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station, we extend a special thanks to Empower Clee for their support.
This is Delvis Valentine.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Moore.
Greetings, this is Eleni Barkley Jones, and you are listening to WOVU 95.9 FM.
We're back on Open Door. Our guest is Terrence Spivey, director of Resurrection of the Last Black Man. Before we took the break, you were describing some of the challenges that you had in making this film, and you also indicated that you didn't really want to do the Brady Bunch approach to telling the story. And you've had to embrace a new way of expressing, and I'm just reflecting on just about a year ago when you did a production at Olivet Institutional Baptist Church called Ma'afa. Yeah. Yes. And if there was any narrative that described the terrorism that has existed with black folk in this country, and then you fast forward to George Floyd, and now you can't tell that story the way you did last year because they really just put a damper on our ability to express ourselves creatively in spaces where you bring folks together. So talk about this paradigm shift in the reality of theater and the challenges that you're dealing with as a result of it.
That is so interesting. You mentioned Ma'afa because everybody I've run into who saw the play, and even the actors, because I had close to about 40, 50 people in the cast. Half were part of the church. Remember, they were church members, and some were actors I worked with at Carroll and beyond throughout Cleveland. And I run into folks like at Panera Bread. I hang out there sometime, and folks will come in and say, "Oh my God, thank God we saw the play before everything shut down because the play was in February." Can you imagine if we actually talked about having a March, I think a spring performance, and we said no, and he decided, Pastor Colvin said we're going to do it February around Valentine's Day. And can you imagine those 40 people that we were having rehearsals like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and it's time to open early part of March? Can you imagine? Oh my God. And, but that was quite a moment there. I'm glad you brought that up to even, to put that piece on. And then of course, between that and this film, like I mentioned before, I worked on this piece called My Brother by Bob Ivory, who's very social conscious too, because I don't know if you've seen the music video.
I have.
But he's very social conscious, and we both like movies of the 70s. So when he mentioned that, I said we got to take a scene from JD's Revenge, and put that at the very beginning. But yeah, it's been quite it's something I've always been wanting to do, film. I mean, I did work on a a piece, a little small film at Karamu a couple years back. You know, it was called Man in the Box, a little experimental film. Peter Lawson Jones was in it. We had what's the gentleman, the coach of the Glenville, the football coach. We had him in it. He had a cameo in it. It was kind of experimental, but it was something that I felt I had to hear again. I'm nothing against when I say Brady Bunch. I'm just being funny about it. I don't want, because I'm may find myself directing or reading in that style.
Right.
So I don't want anybody throwing in tomatoes and rocks and or nothing like that at me, or nothing like that. I'm not against it. It's just that the anger and frustration, I had to do, and
well, sometimes you have to have a face that fills the screen. It can't just be a tiny box on the screen. I mean, I'm with you on that. And as a matter of fact, I was supposed to do a gallery show last year on a project that I was funded for by the Cleveland Foundation. But as I thought about it, it just didn't seem appropriate to do a gallery show. So now I'm embarking upon creating my very first film. Yesterday, I debuted a short film on Facebook and YouTube, but it's a 1-minute film, and it's about things that you can do to protect yourself from the coronavirus. But I'm going to do a longer piece and utilize some of the photographs that I've taken, music that I've written, poetry that I've written. So I'm going to weave all of that into this narrative, and it's going to kind of be like Jennifer's approach, because she's a still photographer. I understand that. I actually have some clips of folks like Umar Johnson and Michael Eric Dyson and others that I was thinking about dropping in there, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I'm just going to use
Umar. Oh my God, Umar.
yeah, right. I'm just going to use photos and things that I've taken. So I embrace where you are right now, and I think, you know, the present circumstances are forcing us into adapting to new ways to share our work with audiences.
Right. And another thing, with just to still keeping that parallel with theater, when we decided to do the stills, it for me, it was even more theatrical. We had a feeling of theatricality to it too. So you had a theatrical and the cinematic, and the theatrical together, because one thing that was because we ended up finishing within, we shot it in one day, June 11th, and we ended up dropping it August 9th. So it was like a month and a half or so it took to get this 8-minute and 46-second piece together. And one of the things was trying to match, segueing the music to a certain moment when Michael May playing David Gregory comes to life in a split second. And thank God, I mean, Jennifer, she was patient with me. You know, there were times she was getting exhausted, and I felt it, and I gave her a break for a couple of days. But when I give her a break, she'll come back and say, Terrence, I'm ready to do it. I said, no, take off another day. No, I'm ready to go. I said, okay. And so we had to find ways to edit the emotional content, you know. We would find different images, and it was matching up with some of the lines in the narrative of what Michael May was giving. I got back in touch with Michael. I said, Michael, okay, let's do this part here again, these two lines, because the way it's matching up against, by the time we finish, and it's matching up with this particular image, a still shot, and because Jennifer threw me a nice still shot that was so emotional compared to the one we had before. I said, let's take it up a notch emotionally with this line, because it's matching up with this still shot. So I'm like, whoa, this is tough. This is pretty tough, as opposed to working with an actor at that moment, said, okay, let's take it down a bit, you know. I couldn't tell the still shot to take it down a bit. I couldn't tell because it's a still shot. So I had to call Michael and say, hey, let's take it up a bit now here, because it's emotional, because your line is going right here, segueing along into the next image. So and Jennifer and Janine Gasking, I had to call her because she said, Terrence, in the article, the mother only says you've done right white folks only one time. I said, yeah, but I'm gonna take it the dramatic license and add it a second time to show the amount of strength this mother has. Just say it again, you know. She said, and that's how we worked on it. Very, very specific. The timing, Mahalia Jackson's The Upper Room off in there. It was really, it's like working on a little micro feature film. Meaning, when I say that, not just a film short, because we had to make sure there's a beginning, middle, and an end to make it feel complete. You know, like you just watched a full-length film. You know, and that's one thing I learned in terms of theater and playwrights who write short plays. Short plays, one-act plays, people don't realize they're the hardest to write. Or a short film is the hardest to do because there's so much you have to compact within that amount of time for folks to feel they got all the development of the character, the plot, you know, the feeling, and to walk away like they just had a nice full-course meal. You know what I'm saying? So it was very difficult. It was. But it was talking to us. The film would not let us finish in 3 days, Vince. It's like, nuh-uh. You're not finishing. You're not getting rid of me this quick. So it was some things happening. I'm like, Jennifer, we got something here. Let's keep moving. We got something. So the rough cut, when I had the rough cut, I showed it to a couple of people. And then when we finished it, somebody said, man, wow, you all need to put this in a festival. And that wasn't even in my mind. I just wanted to send it out for folks to have a catharsis, just to experience this, to see that this man here can breathe. Despite George Floyd couldn't, I want to unearth and bring this man after 1933. I want to bring him back to life so he could find a way to breathe, even though George Floyd couldn't breathe. So I reversed it, you know, with David Gregory. And, of course, he gets a chance to meet his mother as well. And for his mother to see him, here again, no matter how old you are, you know, your mother still sees you as that youth, that young boy, that young girl. And that's why I ended up putting Carter Miller in to represent the younger David Gregory, because she still sees him as the young boy in the film. So,
couple of things. One, I'm taking notes, bro. Taking notes right now. and I say that because I have observed your directing process, and I know as I've seen you just dissect every movement that takes place on the screen and its relationship to the lighting at the moment, to the music at the moment. You know, your attention to detail is something that I found quite impressive. And I think you really expressed how difficult it is to make films because it is a tedious process. I watched Sylvie's Love the other day, and I was just so impressed how they used the music. You know, the music and the timing of the lyrics and the moment of the scene. It was just, it was amazing. So I give you much credit for what you did on that level. I want to talk about these film festivals and the beauty of what's going on with that piece, but we're up against another break. So we're going to take this break. We'll come back and we'll talk more about the opportunities that you have to share this film with a wider audience. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is Terrence Spivey, founding artistic director of Powerful Long Ladder and the director of a film called Resurrection of the Last Black Man. Back after this on 95.9 FM WOVU.
Hi, this is Joy Johnson. Executive Director of Burton Bell Carr Development, also referred to as BBC. When you hear BBC, you may think of the British Broadcasting Company. We are actually named for 3 community leaders who served the Central and Kinsman neighborhoods in the past: Lonnie Burton, James Bell, and Charles V. Carr. Residents of the Central and Kinsman neighborhoods may be familiar with those names because we have the Lonnie Burton Recreation Center, we have Charles Carr Avenue in Garden Valley, we have the James Bell Pool on East 71st Street in Central. Many of our residents were alive when those 3 leaders served the community. Folks outside of the community sometimes think we're a law firm, a CPA, or that Burton, Bell, or Carr are people who work here and founded the organization. They were all deceased when Burton Bell Carr was founded in 1990, and the organization was named to honor their contributions to the neighborhoods. So now you know who we are: Burton Bell Carr Development.
Open Door Cleveland looks at the lives of people here and abroad, navigating the realms of art, culture, and society. I'm Vince Robinson. Tune in for inspired conversation with an array of guests and subject matter experts right here on 95.9 FM WOVU, Monday mornings at 11. Stream us live at WOVU.org or enjoy us live by purchasing the WOVU app from your favorite app store. Open Door Cleveland, Monday mornings at 11 on 95.9 FM WOVU, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station. We're back on Open Door, talking with Terrence Spivey about the film Resurrection of the Last Black Man. Terrence, you shared with me with glee the fact that you've got another film festival that this film will be shown in, and I'm sure it's going to be in the Greater Cleveland Urban Film Festival in this coming year. Tell us about the opportunities that you have with film festivals.
Yeah, a friend of mine from New York saw the film first. He's a filmmaker. We've been knowing each other since our 20s, back in the 80s and everything. And he's a good filmmaker, and he always saw me as a filmmaker first before a theater director. And but he was so amazed at the things I've done since I've gotten to Cleveland. But he said, you need to submit this to some festivals. So I did, and the first one I submitted it to was a theater festival called American Golden Picture International Film Festival. And that was last year, 2020. And I got notification that it was officially selected, and it got honorable mention at that festival. Then I got another notification from a festival, Toronto Documentary and Short Film Festival in Toronto. And it won Best Sound and Best Music. That was as of December. And then for this year here, 2021, 2 festivals, the San Francisco Indie Film Festival, and it's going to virtually stream February 4th to 21st. So it's going to run. It was officially selected there. And the latest one, which I couldn't talk about until now, is a Toronto Black Film Festival, which is the most prestigious right to date. And that one is going to stream February 10th to the 21st. And I'm like, I mean, this is nice and beautiful and wonderful, but I'm like, oh my God, I wish, because of the pandemic, you can't, I would have been traveling right now, but it's going to be virtually streamed online. All the festivals are shut down, just like the theaters, and they're going to be streaming online. But the good thing about it is that's something that wouldn't have happened probably if everything wasn't shut down. I'm getting a bigger audience now because folks will get a chance from all over, who wouldn't have traveled to these festivals to go online and see the films. So that's the advantage about it. But I'm the Toronto Black Film Fest. I'm really even looking forward to that because that one is where they just recently saluted Spike Lee last year, and they've shown a retrospective of his films, and they've also honored Lou Gossett, Alfred Woodard. They've appeared there in Toronto. And the Fred Williamson, you know, the 70s black cinema hero, he was honored. He was actually on the same panel with Caramel House alumnus Bill Cobbs. They brought him in the same year with Fred Williamson, and they honored him, and they talked about his film. So Toronto Black Film Fest is to be reckoned with, and I'm so excited that they said, hey, we love your film. We want it to be part of our festival in 2021. But don't say nothing yet until January. They got in touch with me like the early part of December about that. So I'm very excited about that too.
Okay. So you've mentioned the fact that the present crisis that we're dealing with has actually resulted in an expansion of opportunity on a lot of different levels. I mean, you know, they separated us, but now we're connecting electronically. But I still think that it's important for people to be in the same room and to feel the energy. Could you talk about your thoughts about the absence of an audience for a theatrical production?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's magical. It's nothing. It's magical. It's nothing like it. You know, here again, like my former mentor, Celie Turner, who taught me at Prairie View A&M University in Texas. He talked about, when we were in my freshman year, he talked about how the connection of the spiritual, of the Bible, of course, and the church and theater, how this is the congregation, this is the altar, and there's a testimony, and it's so spiritual in that theater, the same way of being in a church. And it took me until later on in New York, when I got to Caramel House, I said, now I understand what he's saying. That connection of testimony, the congregation is the audience, and the testimonies when they're responding, the call and response when they're watching, and the altar is the stage, you know? And you can't get it in a movie theater. I mean, you get that feeling, you get the because of the music and the crescendo, or Lalo Schifrin or Barry Goldman, you get all that because of the music sweeping you and everything, but it's nothing like being there in a communal with the people and watching everybody of all races have a certain unison of emotions, you know? They're all walking out or doing intermission with tears coming down their eyes, you know? And it's the best connection. There's nothing like it. And it's so therapeutic, you know, to sit there and watch as an audience member or as a director, or to sit and watch and see how people are experiencing what they see up on that stage. And it's for the actors too. You know, they have to be in character. There's nothing like what the audience give to the actors up on that stage and they're playing those characters. When I look at a film, well, I wouldn't say the film, but the play. When I saw the play Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I've seen it a couple of times. You know, of course, I've directed it. You were in it, of course.
Oh, yes.
But watching the play, oh, my God. It's nothing like watching August Wilson on stage. My God. The films are good, but it's nothing like what it's like Charles Fuller's A Soldier's Play. The film was fantastic, A Soldier's Story. But watching that play on stage is so visceral, you know? And everybody's connected at the same time with it, you know? Everybody's feeling. And that's the time you walk in, like I said, people of all races or whatever, you all feel, you all are human. That's when you realize it's an exorcism in a way of showing that all of us are human when you go see a live show. Or musical, or dance.
Yeah, you know, you're bringing it home to me because I'm just remembering the film A Soldier's Story, and I know that there were moments in the film where anger was just so intense, and if you're in the same room with someone who was angry, that vibrational aspect it reverberates to you, so you can actually feel that emotion in a way that you don't feel it when you're watching a screen. But I want to fast forward and to another thought that I had, and that was the film My Name is Dolomite. there was a scene in the movie where Dolomite was sitting in the movie theater. He was there with his boys, and he was looking at the screen, and he was seeing something completely different from what they were seeing. And that's when the idea was in his head. If I can do this and I can put this on screens around the country, I mean, it was about the money, but it was also about his ability to tell the story. Now, we've had this conversation about what you did in producing an 8-minute film. I'm just wondering, you know, again, based on where things are right now, is Terrence Spivey thinking about doing some feature-length films?
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I don't mind. Sometimes you don't want to talk about certain projects, but this one I don't mind because the short film was like, you know, I was a starting block. I'm looking to do a full length on Resurrection as a documentary. I'm looking to do that as I had planned 2 years ago, you know, and now the short film has really got fire under me to do a full length, and raising money. I'm building cred now to raise money because of the festivals, official selections, and everything, and all the attention it's getting. I shouldn't have no problem raising funds to do a full length documentary on that. And after that, I do plan to do like a fictional film. After that, there's one that I have. I can't talk about it right now, but it's based from a '70s movie that I've been wanting to do. So, an inspiration on it, and that'll be a feature film. But right now, my mind is really to do a documentary on David Gregory. It's going to be a mixture. It's not going to be the same exact execution with just still shots. There's going to be a mixture of other elements off in there to help drive the narrative on what happened to him. And I plan to go to Kuntze, Texas, my hometown, to start working on research. We were actually planning on going this past fall, me and my son, but then of course, actually even the spring, but we're now gonna wait until next spring to when it's warmer to go there. So yes, and I'm also going to use actors in that too, some reenactments in this documentary.
Well, I know if this other project has anything to do with the '70s, Harold Rags Crawford must be involved in it.
As a matter of fact, when I work on the documentary, I'm going to bring him aboard. There's some things in that documentary. I have some ideas of costuming that I plan to do with this documentary too in Kuntze. And I want to bring him aboard for that as well.
Well, I'm sure that whatever it is, it's going to be magical, and you know, when it hits the big screen, because we're not going to be quarantined and self-imposed exiles forever. You know, they're going to do what they're going to do, and you know, things will evolve. So we can look forward to a day when we can experience the short film and the longer-term film on the major screen. Terrence, this time is just flying by, brother. I know, man. It's just amazing. But that's what happens when we have conversations. So what we're going to do, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to come back and talk about a few other things that may not or may be related to theater and film. We'll be right back on Open Door with Vince Robinson with my special guest, Terrence Spivey, right here on 95.9 FM WOVU.
Hey listeners, here at WOVU 95.9 FM, we want to stay connected with you. So like our page on Facebook, which is WOVU 95.9 FM, or you can call our request line at 216-271-0959. Again, that is 216-271-0959. Also, don't forget to visit our website at WOVU.org. Keep it locked on WOVU 95.9 FM, a BBC community radio station. This program is brought to you by Computer Love. Are you ready to get your digital life together? Well, PCs for People is where you need to be. A 501c3 nonprofit organization located at 3126 St. Clair Avenue PCs for People has desktop computers, laptop computers, and free classes to get you in the mood for some computer love. Call 216-930-5741 or visit PCsForPeople.org. That's 216-930-5741 or visit PCSForPeople.org. On behalf of WOVU 95.9, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station, we extend a special thanks to PCs for People for their support.
Hey Cleveland, you can now listen to one of the hottest radio stations on your phone. Yes, that's right. WOVU 95.9 FM has a new mobile app, and did I mention that it's free? You can download our app in Google Play or in the Apple Store. Just type in WOVU 95.9 FM. Now you don't have to stay in that hot car trying to catch every beat. You can listen to us while you're getting ready for work, while you're making dinner, or while you're winding down after a long day of work. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and download our app right now. And make sure you keep it locked on WOVU 95.9 FM.
We're back on Open Door with Terrence Spivey, director, artistic director, and visionary. And we've been talking about his film, The Resurrection of the Last Black Man. He has expressed to us that he plans to take it into a much longer format and make it into a documentary film, and we look forward to seeing that. I also know that you have a penchant for August Wilson. We've talked about the stage reading that we did, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and that was a film that aired, I believe, on Netflix this year. And we talked about the film that Denzel Washington did called Fences, and we had a conversation about it last week, and I just want to dive into that a little bit. What are the challenges involved in transforming a play into a movie, and what were your feelings about how the film Ma Rainey's Black Bottom appeared to you?
It's adapting a play to a film could be really, there's always a saying like they say, the novel was better than the film. The play was better than the film. That normally happens. Certain times, though, there's sometimes where you can see that you can still appreciate the film, like a soldier story. You can still appreciate the soldiers. To me, is not still the level of the theater of the play version, the soldier's play, because here again, like you and I talked about, live theater, we're all there together experiencing this live, and so August Wilson, Fences, and Ma Rainey is the same way. You're going to experience it differently compared to the play, and of course, not only that, the playwrights or screenwriters who are adapting the play. I say playwrights because some playwrights will adapt their own plays to screen, like Charles Fuller did with a soldier's play to a soldier's story. The great Ruben Santel Hudson, of course, adapted Ma Rainey's Black Bottom stage production to the film. And the challenge is always the fact that you have to cut. You have to cut some lines. You have to cut monologues because of the fact of, to keep attention span, or because of what the studios are asking for. Those are always the challenges. And still try to make sure you maintain the core intent and the core philosophy of what the playwright had in mind, what they're doing, what is still driving the same way as it was driving when you're watching the play. So, yeah.
So, looking at Fences in particular, I was blessed to actually photograph Fences at Caramoo, and after photographing the play, I saw the film, and I was just blown away with what Denzel Washington did with that film. I happen to believe that that year Denzel should have won Best Director just because of the challenges that you just shared with us. But there is a difference between watching the movie and watching the play. What are your expectations for future plays of August Wilson's showing up on the big screen?
Well, one of the expectations, I hope they continue to get, like George C. Wolfe, one of the premier directors of Broadway, and he's done some film too, and of course, Denzel, I just hope they stay consistent. He stays consistent in finding, the right directors. I'm glad he's holding on to August Wilson's belief is having a black director. He believed that in doing the stages, even though a couple of white directors did the stage productions. But I'm glad he's holding on to that belief. Of course, he's working with August Wilson's widow too, having a black director to direct the film. And also, I'm hoping and praying that the people they bring aboard. I mean, you got the younger generation of actors, and I hope they stay consistent in bringing some of these whatever happened to actors. Oh, wow, it's good to see him like Glenn Turman, Wow, it's good to see Glenn Turman up here, doing a film. He's mostly doing television, which is okay, but it was so good to see him in a feature film again. So I'm hoping that that they look at that too, bringing old school and new school, and holding on to his dialogue, his language, his lyrical language. And I'm going to go back to Fitz and what you just said about it. One thing I also liked about it, even though some critics felt it was some parts are too stagey, is that his words are so poetic, August Wilson. It's hard to edit too much. You can't edit and go to another scene. And I like the way in Fitz is how he kept it moving, When he goes from one room, he goes to the next room. He goes out from the porch, he's talking, and he goes into the house, but the dialogue is still moving. Because most of Wilson's works are long speeches. They're not David Mamet's Glengarry Glen Ross, where it's line for line for line. It's just lines after lines, one line. It's nothing like that. It's not Harold Pinter's silence of lines where you can have time to go say, okay, let's edit here. Let's go to another take. His just flows just like a river. And, you can't just stop a river like that. So that's the thing that I'm hoping that, they continue on and hold on to with that. And just to bring up Ma Rainey, it was good to see George C. Wolfe and Ruben Santel Hudson come back together, too. Because people don't realize that they worked together before. Ruben Santel Hudson's Lackawanna Blues, that was a one-man show that he did. He actually did it at the Public Theater when George C. Wolfe was the artistic director. And Ruben played all those characters that you saw in the film version. Him and when he was a child, his grandmother, he played all those parts. When they did the film adaptation, of course, Halle Berry was one of the producers. He shared the wealth of having all these actors play those roles, and George C. Wolfe directed the film version of Lackawanna Blues. There's that connection there, between those two. So I'm just hoping that also that they can allow them to lengthen it a bit, his plays, into film, because his plays are like average 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Now, I'm hoping they allow the playwright, the screenwriters, and the directors to say, let it go at least 2 hours to get a little nice more chunk of August's, language.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that can happen next time around. I know the next one I think is set to be is up in the air right now. I think it's a piano lesson, which I did see the Hallmark television version years back with Alfred Woodard, Charles Dutton, who actually played the role of Boy Willie in the stage production, and Courtney Vance played his buddy. So now they're looking at the feature film, and Denzel wants Samuel Jackson to play Boy Willie, and I'm assuming his son John David Watson is going to play Courtney Vance's part that he plays. I don't know who's going to play Bernice, the lead female. I don't know who's going to play that part. It hasn't been mentioned. But it's something to look up to. It's like, wow, I can't wait till this one comes out. And I think once they're all done, all 10 plays of film, that's going to be a nice catalog for every generation to now see who this man was. And right now, when you go to YouTube and see clips from plays, you see you see somebody that just went on like yesterday or a week before, because now the film has led a lot of people, Vince, to go to YouTube and now catching up to his works, August Wilson works. And I think that is so beautiful to see that,
yes.
You know? So, so a lot of us are getting more educated now about August Wilson because of that, of Denzel Washington's name tagged up there and Netflix, and some people are going on there doing their homework before the film came out. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
But let's also hope there's more films that come out, like One Night in Miami, you know, those kind of films too. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're running out of time once again, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention Viola Davis and the commitment that she had to that role. I mean, she looked like she put on probably 30 or 40 pounds to play that role.
In addition to that fat suit she had, they put that fat suit on her too. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to know that she didn't make that much of a sacrifice. But that being said, I seriously hope that she gets some consideration when it comes to handing out those trophies.
Yeah, I love the way. I love the way she. You know, I was wondering, okay, how's she gonna take off with this? And I love this. Is like one of my. Even though some people think they look at it grotesque, and there's a lot more to it underneath all that makeup. It's a lot. People don't know how it was back then. You know, over making up and all these different things going on with women. And I love the fact of how subtle she was at times, and how she. I don't know when the last time I've seen a film this. Where you see the lead character, male or female, running the whole movie. I mean, in terms of telling what to do. Yeah. I ain't putting up with it. I was zero tolerance. I haven't seen nothing like that since the 70s movies.
Yeah, we're not gonna drop the needle on that record until I get my Coke.
That's right. I mean, I haven't seen nothing like that since the 70s films. Those cheap movies back in the day when Jim Brown and Fred Wilson telling people, run on there.
Yes.
You know, I haven't seen that, dog. A coffee.
You know, it's really interesting, Terrence, that we're just seeing such an abundance now of black roles. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, but at least you're seeing more of us on the screen. Exactly. And I really wanted to dive into the relevance of plays and films as a means of social justice. You and I are going to collaborate on a panel discussion for Ohio University next month, and I'm really looking forward to that conversation. And I think we'll be able to dive into that subject a little deeper. We got about a minute. So if you could just talk about why it's important for us to do those things.
It's so important because, I mean, since I left Caramel, I mean, I did a couple of works even there before the so-called social justice was labeled with the theaters, and what got me really going though was after I did Objectively Reasonable about the life of Tamir Rice at Playwrights Local, and knowing that some of us, you know, we suffer in silence out there in the public. A lot of us, our community, we don't go out and preach, we don't go out and speak. And I remember when I worked on that play, I got a chance to become really good close friends with Samaria Rice, Tamir's mother, and she was complaining, saying nobody came out to march for him. So nobody, compared to Trayvon Martin and all these others, nobody came out to march for Tamir. And what are you gonna do? She looked at me and I said, I'm gonna show to do justice to the arts. That's gonna be my way to do it without getting thrown in jail, without not doing anything illegal. I can do it, and where you can have dialogue afterwards, after you do the play. We put that play up, Vince, and it was a huge moment, you know, and we had talkback discussions.
Yes, I actually did attend, and I witnessed it for myself, and I can say to our listening audience that it is vital that we do those kinds of things because the universe is mental. And if you don't have your mind together, you're going to miss out on a lot. Terrence Spivey, it has been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Sir.
And I look forward to the collaboration next month. And all I can say to the folks out there listening, y'all stay tuned, because big things about to go down.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
And thank you for listening. Open Door, Cleveland, right here on 95.9 FM WOVU. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and make today your greatest day. Peace.